guys, it's Kai. From a priceless painting to an overweight submarine, here are 10 of the most expensive mistakes in all of history. Number 10, the Vasa disappointment. The story of what happened to the ship has its rightful place in history. It was one of the greatest achievements of the Swedish fleet, among the most spectacular warships ever built, while at the same time being one of their biggest disappointments. The ship survived the first gust of wind she met while sailing in the Stockholm port, but the second one ended her voyage. Vasa's tragedy did not happen near an enemy. In fact, it was in the front of the horrified audience gathered to witness the most ambitious warship in her navy in Europe so far. Scientists concluded that the engineering problems betrayed the ship. This public relations disaster for the Swedish Navy became a blessing for archaeologists later down the line. Vasa was built by the order of the king, and it was expected to become the first flagship of the 17th century Swedish fleet. But it did not even manage to leave Stockholm Bay and sink immediately after leaving the shipyard. Due to a wrong decision, the ship was really unstable. Shortly after touching the water, she rolled over and quickly went to the bottom in front of the eyes of thousands of city dwellers. Well, they tried and failed, but they did unintentionally build the first submarine. Number 9, the destroyed priceless painting. Some painters live without being appreciated or paid for their work. So it seems fair that after her work of art had attracted worldwide attention, that Cecilia Jimenez was entitled to make a little money, even if she did make someone look like a very hairy monkey. It's okay to be confident, but if your skills miss the target by a long shot, maybe you better improve them before claiming you can restore a priceless artifact. When the 80-year-old parishioner spotted Behold the Man at the Church of the Sanctuary of Mercy in Borgia, she knew exactly how to fix it. Or at least she was eager to try, but her reach exceeded her grasp. The end result looks a little different from the original, which made the internet sufferers recopy the picture. While the original artifact is sadly ruined, there is a good argument to be made that the mistake did indeed have a positive effect. So many tourists came to see the masterpiece that the church started charging people to see it, generating 50,000 euros for charities. Local businesses have welcomed the increase in tourism, and the church has seen a significant increase in donations. What was the saying about the Lord working in mysterious ways? Number 8, Bitcoins in the trash. Bitcoins emerged in 2009, and they were easy enough to earn. The Englishman James Howell had collected 7,500 in digital currency, but then they costed almost nothing. In 2013, the price of his Bitcoins rose to 7.5 million. When the man realized he was going to be rich, he looked for his drive, and to his horror, he found that he had thrown it away, and the drive had contained Bitcoins, and it was currently residing in an unknown location in a local landfill. Can you imagine? Since then, more than 6 years of garbage has been thrown over the hard drive, which means that any recovery operation would be expensive and time-consuming. Although he made several requests to the local council, Hal still has no permission to search for the lost treasure. The only thing that he needs to do is persuade the local authorities and environmental agencies to allow him to begin his search, which they haven't so far. The man is hopeful that due to the increasing price, at one point he will be allowed to go and dig for his hard drive, because the item containing the Bitcoins will become extremely valuable. Some may say too valuable for staying in the trash dump. Will he ever get permission to look for his Bitcoins? No one knows, but at least he can look at the landfill like a pension fund. Its value is growing, while you just have to live long enough to be able to finally get it. Talk about bad luck. And now for number 7. But first, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss out on more videos like these. Number 7, Millennium Bridge. The Millennium Bridge, which connects the two banks of the River Thames in London, opened in 2000 and closed almost immediately. It turned out that a large crowd of people turned it into a dramatic swing. The original cost of the bridge, 18.2 million euros, it is now safe to use, but at the time of the opening, it was like a scary roller coaster ride. Usually, when you're looking for thrills, the only time you go to a bridge is when you've decided to bungee jump from it. The bridge in question was different because no one told the public that it would rock their world. Pun intended. People panicked due to the bridge moving side to side like crazy, but that was not something that 91 stabilizing dampers can't cope with. The question is, why in the world were they not present in the first place? Hey guys, want to build a bridge and not test it and see what happens? Number 6, oil rig trouble. When a Texaco oil rig drilled too much in the ground in Louisiana, it led to the collapse of the salt pillars that supported Lake Peñar. Drainage was formed, and the lake went from only 6 feet deep to a monstrous 200 feet deep. An hour and a half later, the workers saw on site that their 150 feet high derrick faded into the lake that had an average depth of less than 3 feet. It appeared that the drill accidentally penetrated the main well of the Diamond Crystal salt mine, whose tunnels crossed the rocks below the lake. The lake water now entered the mine through a 14-inch hole that quickly expanded into the salt dome, and it had 10 times the force of a fire hydrant pressure. 50 miners ran through the rising waters, using passing cars and an amazingly slow elevator to get out of the mine 8 people at a time. Texaco paid $44.8 million for the incredibly expensive and worrying mistake. Number 5. $225 million lost due to sleep deprivation. Japanese company Mizuho Securities wanted to sell a share for about $5,000 on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. However, it seems that the stockbroker did not have a good night's sleep and made a small mistake while entering the data. He put 610,000 shares up for sale, just 1 yen each. Despite the company's protest, the stock exchange processed the order, which resulted in the loss of $225 million. The whole story is just unbelievable, and it's a testament to how important sleep is. I don't even want to begin to imagine what happened to the stockbroker when he realized his mistake. How do you come back home with news like that? Hi honey, how was your day? Well, things went south in the office. I was on the computer and, well, I lost $225 million for the folks that I work for. No biggie, they told me I could pay them back working overtime. Have you heard of the term FUBAR? Do me a favor and Google it real quick. Number 4, $327.6 million spaceship. The Mars Climate Orbiter was developed by NASA to study weather on Mars. Due to an amazing mistake, contact with the space vessel was lost while it was in the atmosphere. To transfer coordinates, NASA teams used different measurement systems. As a result, the orbiter entered the atmosphere of Mars too low and collapsed. The main problem consisted of measurements in the imperial system mixing with such from the metric system. It went on for almost 10 months and was not detected at all. Such a simple mistake, essentially a flaw in translation, went back to the contractor, Lockheed Martin Astronautics in Colorado, using pounds, where the NASA team used the internationally recognized metric system. That proved to be a horrible misunderstanding that sent the MCO on a crash course towards the surface of the red planet. Wow, an error like that crashed $327.6 million of equipment. I guess if you plan on working for NASA, you should probably pay attention in math. Number 3, an overly heavy submarine. The Spanish government invested £1.75 billion in a new Isaac Perel submarine. Later down the road, officials realized the ship was weighing 70 tons more than expected because an engineer put the decimal point in the wrong place. A former Spanish official identified the mistake as fatal, which raised concerns the submarine would not reappear if sent to sea. The construction process has shown that it is too heavy and risks not being able to return to the surface after immersion. It turned out that in the beginning, someone made the mistake in calculations. The correction of this accidental mistake required that the length of the hull was extended to compensate for the enormous amount of extra weight. Isaac Perel, the first in the new class of diesel-electric submarines, was almost finished when the problem was noticed. Better late than never, right? At least nothing bad happened, except the incredibly costly reconstruction. Number 2, wide wagons and narrow platforms. In 2014, the railway company SNCF assessed the modernization of a transport network and ordered 2,000 new trains for 15 billion euros. Unfortunately, the measurements that were supplied were from stations that were built at least 30 years ago, and many platforms have been older and slightly narrower. They had to be urgently expanded, a task that amounted to an additional 50 million euros. The costly mistake prompted an emergency operation to change 1,300 platforms across the regional network. The SNCF acknowledged that 1 in 6 regional train stations was problematic. In the worst case, it was found that 2 trains could not cross adjacent lines. If we look at this from the bright side, who wouldn't want rapid modernization of the railways in their country? Probably someone who is paying 50 million extra. Number 1, the sale of Alaska. In the late 19th century, Alexander II of Russia considered Alaska was only an ice-covered land. In March of 1867, Russia took the decision to sell the ginormous territory to the US for only $7.2 million. Because the ruble's ration to the dollar was almost equal at the time, Russia won little from this agreement, but lost billions of dollars in natural resources. Alaska is a huge piece of land that is filled with natural resources. It might have felt like a good idea at the time, but from today's point of view, not so much. Just imagine how much oil Alaska has beneath its surface, and you will find out that 7.2 million was a funny amount considering what you're getting. I guess it's in the past, but I bet someone surely is kicking themselves for that. Thanks for watching. What's the most expensive mistake you've ever made? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.